This is part 2 of recreating the Welcome to Colorful Colorado sample in Ibex. In this part, I'm going to create the text overlay and finish the design. So to start, I need to create the lettering that I'm going to use for the cutout. But first, I need to create a few additional layers. So if I turn off all layers here, you can see that on layer 1, I have the columbine flowers that I created, and then I have the nested background. I need to create 3 additional layers. The first will be for the lettering. Then I'm going to create another layer to use for the background. And then the final layer will be for the cutout. This will help me keep the contours organized as I start applying toolpaths. So to start, let's activate the lettering layer and turn all layers back on. I'm going to pan over to the side here of the design and create a rectangle. This rectangle will be 10 inches high by 14 inches wide. You'll notice it's slightly smaller than my material size. That will allow me to position it among the background the way I want it to, without going to the boundaries where I wasn't able to fit a columbine. I can click to place it in the workspace, and now I'm ready to create some text. I'm going to be creating some basic Arial text that is bolded. And center it, and then select everything, Control-Alt-5 to align everything to center. So I can scale up the text to better fill the piece. And then I'm done editing the text elements, so I can convert to curves using text to curves and then ungroup. This allows me to edit each line individually. So first I'm going to size up just the Colorado portion and elongate it to get the look I want it for, and move it out of the way. Then I'm going to select Welcome To, and using the arrow keys, bump it up a little bit. Now I'm going to select this, zoom in on just the selection. Using the polyline, I'm going to place a reference line here. What this allows me to do then is select the Welcome To, go to the Edit ribbon, and select Taper. And now I can adjust the text down to my reference line. Enter to accept, and repeat that with the word colorful. Got that there. Accept. Can bump that down to provide a little bit more spacing. And there you have it. I have my Welcome to Colorful Colorado. Looks like I need to bump that Colorado back up just a little bit. That's the look I'm going for. And I'm going to regroup to treat that group of text as an individual object. So this represents the lettering that I want. Now for background generation, this is for machining. I want to do an engrave around the border of these letters and then have that stand off from the background. So for the background, I'm going to activate the background layer and then select offset. Here I'm going to, I want a pretty tight offset, so 0.05 inches. And I realized I forgot to select the boundary, which I definitely need that. So reselect, I'm going to do an internal offset of 0.05 inches, do a square offset, and apply that. So now I have the offset that I can use to generate the background. And finally, for my cutout layer, this one's a little simpler. I just need to create an offset that I can use to cut out the piece when I'm done. Select apply, and now I have a 0.25 inch offset from the inner boundary to use as a cutout. So let's zoom back to the plate. Everything is still on. I'll zoom out a little bit. So I have all of my text contours over here, and I have my background here. So now what I want to do is generate the cutout. So I'm going to select everything. This is so everything stays together and aligned, and move it so that it's positioned over the background contours. Like I said, this allows me to put the contours over the background and adjust where I want the position to be. That looks pretty good, so I can let go. Zoom in on the plate again. Now I can get ready to generate the background. I'm going to have the background selected as my primary layer, turn off layer 1, lettering, and cutout because I don't want these to be included in the background. Select everything, edit, and go to the Smart Split tool. I'm going to select the background and the text. They're already all grouped together for easy use, and click Apply. And there's my background, ready to go. And now you can see if I turn back on the cutout and the lettering and zoom in, they're all still aligned, but now I have the background is slightly inset from where I want the lettering to be. So now I'm ready to apply toolpaths. So let's start with the background. I need to turn off the cutout layer and the lettering layer and select, go to toolpath, engrave, and I already have a 90-degree 3D engrave toolpath that I want to use for this. Select that, and there it is. It's applied. And that's the look that the final look that I have for this pattern in mind. So now I can turn on the lettering layer, and I'm going to do the same thing. This is going to create a nice, clean engraved pass around the outside of the letters. So this toolpath is a little deep. I'm using the template, that same one that I used, the 90-degree 3D engraved demo, but it goes to a full 0.3 inches. So I'm going to select all of these toolpaths, and I'm going to bump this down to 0.15 inches and click Apply to make that a shallower engrave offset. Now, because I'm using a template and the background was also created with this template, it's going to ask me if I want to apply these changes to all other toolpaths in the drawing. I don't want to do that because this is just for the lettering engrave. So now I can turn back on the background layer, and now you can see that I have a cleanup pass here that I've applied that will clean up from the background and offset the border. The last thing I have to do, select my border and apply my profile toolpath template. And now, if I rotate, you can see here's the complete design, ready to go to the machine. I have my background, the cleanup of the letters, and the cutout there in multiple passes for the thick material that I'm using. Let's go back up top. We can run a simulation to make sure this looks good. Okay, that looks good. Let's rotate. And we can see the cutout of the letters looks good with that offset, and the flowers look good as well with their engraving pass and the cutouts working. So happy with that. I can then go to the manufacturer tab, ordering. Here I just want to check that the engrave is happening before I do my cutout. That looks correct. Accept that. Now I'm ready to go to my machine. And that's how to recreate the Welcome to Colorful Colorado sample in Ibex.